Yep.
Okay. Welcome everyone to this special session of the Strive Life Summit. This is a Q&A with Amy Koford. Am I saying that correctly? I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, Koford. Yep.
Okay, great. She is a hypnotherapist, and I'm really excited to talk about her presentation, which is all about programming your mind, right? So tell us a little bit about your presentation for those who maybe haven't seen it yet.
For those who haven't seen my presentation, it's all about how our mind is basically everything to us. I also go into several aspects of living a better life with thinking differently. Stress reduction, I talk about how it's our thoughts, not what's happening, and give you a few really good pieces of content about that. And then I also talk about how harmful it is to criticize yourself, how you need to stop criticizing yourself to connect with your greatness, because most people are very critical of themselves. I have found that time and time again, client after client. So yeah, for those of you that didn't see, my name is Amy Koford and I go by Amy the Happy Hypnotist. And I've been a hypnotist for several years. I've done hypnotherapy, thousands of sessions. And right now I just finished a class today with one of the top hypnotists in the world. So I've met with him several times and I just always am learning more. Most people that come to me for hypnosis or hypnotherapy do so for depression and anxiety. So what I do to help people with depression and anxiety is we got to find out what's going on. So often it is the thoughts that are going on about what's happened, combined with a lot of emotions. So a lot of times we are going back and resolving past traumas in a number of different ways, and then retraining the mind to look back at those situations and those events of life with just a better outlook that it's okay. I remember it, but I'm okay with it. So
I
yeah,
love
in
that.
my presentation, I did a whole hypnosis session that you can benefit from. And I would highly advise anyone out there that wants to live a better life to just listen to that every night as you go to sleep for a while until you start to notice that you're doing much better, that your life is amazing.
I love that. I'm so intrigued with hypnotherapy because there's so much going on a subconscious level, right? Our
Oh yeah.
programming and the way that we respond to things, like you said. And so it's interesting to me to think about the potential of that, to be able to change that so that without even having to think about it, it just starts automatically happening, right? You start changing your behavior automatically. So I love the idea of this. And I've done a little bit of hypnotherapy myself. I need to do more of it, I'm sure, but I just think it's incredible and so fascinating. But I know there are a lot of people that are maybe scared of hypnotherapy, right? There's maybe a stigma that their mind is being manipulated or something, right? Some for whatever
Oh yeah.
reason they're turned off by it. So what would you say to those people that are maybe reluctant or hesitant to get hypnotherapy?
Yeah, it's actually very common. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, my camera went off. It's actually very common for people to be nervous about it. A lot of times when I get new clients coming in, they'll sit there going, "Oh, I'm nervous." And I'll tell them, "You don't need to be because it's not like what you've seen in the movies." And I do hypnosis shows. Now, in hypnosis shows, I can get people to do crazy, funny things that they normally wouldn't. But the concept is the same. And that is that when you lower the conscious mind, or in other words, what we call the critical factor, I mean, there's a number of names for it, right? But when you move that aside, or when you get that out of the way and you're just going straight to the computer, what we call the subconscious, then you can get the mind to accept things that the client wants. So what I've noticed with people, yeah, they're a little nervous because they don't know what to expect. And I'll tell them, you're actually going to be very pleasantly surprised at what this is like. Sure enough, every new client that comes in after their first session, they go, oh man, that was nice. And there's times that people love it so much, I have to do 5 attempts to get them to come out. It's not that anyone can get stuck. It's that they go so deep and they love it so much that they're like not wanting to come out. So I'll say, all right, I know you love it in there. I know it's great. You're all peaceful and relaxed, but it's time to come out. And so it's actually a ton of fun and everyone is pleasantly surprised after their
Yeah.
first session. It's more relaxing. So many people say that's the most relaxed I have ever been, or that I've ever, that I've been in years. So yeah, I do speaking. I do a lot of public speaking, and I almost always do a audience hypnosis session so that everyone can benefit. And I'll tell the audience, you can participate or not, but if you don't participate, you're not going to benefit from this. And inevitably, there's always like 2 or 3 people that refuse to participate, and I think it's because they're afraid that I'm going to try to manipulate their mind.
Yeah.
And, then they kinda at the end, kind of realize, "Oh, I guess, the things that she was saying was incredibly positive," and they probably regret not participating because they hear the whole thing and go, "Oh, yeah, dang." If I could plant that positivity into my subconscious, how would it benefit me?
The whole thing again is so fascinating, but I think maybe that's part of where the reluctance or the fear comes in, right? Knowing that you can absolutely manipulate their mind to get them to do weird things. So there is a lot of trust that they have to place in you so that
Mhm.
you
Yep.
I guess act appropriately and actually help them in a positive way, right? Um,
Yeah.
but obviously, you've worked with, I mean, I don't know how many hundreds, I'm assuming, of people that have done
Yeah.
this, right? And you're
Yep.
getting some incredible results, right? So
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
let's talk about what kind of things people are changing in their lives as a result of these hypnotherapy sessions.
Okay. So one of the things I do is I get people to stop smoking in one session with a lifetime guarantee,
Wow.
and that's been really effective. But like I say, the majority come to me for depression and anxiety. That's honestly what most people come to me for. And I'll get to that in just a second. I'll kind of explain how it helps with depression and anxiety, what we do. But I also help people with sports performance. So I get wrestlers and golfers, and I get people who do tumbling. I've had a number of cheerleaders and dancers. And so the way I help the way that I help sports performance is it depends. Like for the cheerleaders that have come to me, they were really good at tumbling, but then they had a certain type of fall or an accident. Now they're scared to do the back handspring and so forth because I fell, I could get hurt. So what I have to do is retrain their mind to say, don't be afraid. You know exactly what to do and retrain their mind how to do it. With golf, it depends. Sometimes they have certain fears. And so I have to help them let go of those fears, but also train any kind of sports performance. Any athlete that really wants to be good needs to be doing hypnotism. Because think of it like this, and this actually applies to everything that I do hypnosis with. You know how when you want to be good at something, you practice it? So let's say you start taking piano lessons. Okay. I love to play the piano. Well, at first, you're just barely training your mind. This note is this is this. And then as you train it more and more, the more that you practice, basically all you're doing is training your mind. Here's how you play. here's where your fingers touch. Here's what this means on the sheet of music. So it's like that with sports too, where in order to be really good at a sport, you have to practice and practice and practice. Well, with hypnotism, it accelerates that. So it's training your mind how to do it without having to practice. It's taking you into like several practices. So it gets you good faster than just simply practicing and practicing. So yeah,
That's so
sports
fascinating to me.
performance. Yeah, I mean, any Olympic athlete, any pro athletes, they're using hypnotism. And if they're not, they're missing out. So yeah, I've had a lot of sports performance. And, I get the occasional like bad habits, nail biting, hair pulling, stuff like that, weight loss. And again, weight loss falls into habits, right? It's just habits. So with depression and anxiety, which is my area of expertise, people have a number of different factors that go into that. And so with depression and anxiety, first of all, I'm assessing where in your life is this? Did you have childhood trauma? Is this something that came up recently? What's going on? And then we go in, and typically with depression and anxiety, the first thing I'll do is a session where I speak directly to their unconscious, right? In fact, I actually say to them, I am no longer speaking to you. I'm speaking directly to your unconscious. And then I work directly with the unconscious to say, all right, unconscious, you know what's happening in there. Now, here's some specifics that we need to go through and work out and fix and, resolve. And I only replace whenever I let go of anything in their mind, we have to replace right away, right? Because when you take it out, you've got this empty space there now that I have to hurry and put in and say to the unconscious, okay, now here's what we have. We've got someone that's confident, happy, right? So all these good things that they need, they own their power, optimistic kind of thing. So then they come out of it like a new person because they basically are, right? Now they're going to see the world differently. They're going to experience it differently. And then, with some past traumas, it depends on what it is. So, for example, if it's something major, then I do a lot of dissociation, disconnection, and sending it far away in their mind. So, for example, I had a client last year who had been kidnapped when he was a kid and by a stranger. It wasn't even one of those like family kidnappings, right? He was walking, he was playing with his friends. He got kidnapped. Someone pulled over, grabbed him, took him into the woods, violated him. And he had been living with us. Now he's in his 40s, right? So, what I did with that trauma is I helped his mind dissociate, disconnect, and send it far away, in addition to letting go of those old feelings from it. Because I'll tell the unconscious, those feelings were perfectly appropriate at the right times, the right circumstances. They served their purpose in the right way at the right time. But there's no reason now to keep them. Like that time came and went. He has processed through these emotions for decades. Now it's okay to let them go. And so the result with that was he came back the next time after that one. And he's like, I remember it. It doesn't bother me anymore. I'm
Wow.
okay with it.
That's incredible that you can have that kind of a
Yeah.
transformation and so quickly. I'm
Yeah.
curious about that. And for anyone popping in and out, we've had a few people drop in and out of the call, but if you're wanting to ask Amy a question, leave it in the chat or raise your hand. There's a button for that, and I'll unmute you and you can speak to Amy yourself if you'd like. But I'm really curious in the meantime, um, how quickly can a change like this happen or make occur, I guess. I don't know what the right terminology is.
That's
Um,
okay.
but for me, I think about the traumas that I've had in my life, right? And on my own, seems like it's impossible to work through these things, but then
Hmm.
in a hypnotherapy session, it's almost instant. Or I don't know. I mean, I I haven't really, I guess, done enough myself to fully have experienced that, but I'm curious as to how quickly you can typically, make these kind of big drastic changes, because these are massive things that you're having
Oh
them let
yeah.
go of, right? So what does
Yeah.
that typically look like? I mean, do people have to do, I'm assuming sometimes multiple sessions, but I mean, and has it been gone forever, or do things come back? Walk us through that a little bit.
Okay. No, that's a great question. And my first answer is it kind of depends on the client. Okay. Some clients are far more willing to lower their resistance, right? And just let it happen. And then other clients that tend to be kind of control freaks, they put up a little more resistance that I have to work through and say, you could resist if you wanted to, but that's not why you're with me, right? So it depends. The maximum that I typically do with any client is 8 sessions. That's the most anyone needs, usually. Once in a while, I get a rare exception to that, but for the most part, 8 sessions with something major is good, right? But some people only need one, some people just two or three or anything in between. And so, yeah, it kind of depends on the client. But yeah, it's going to be anywhere between 1 and 8 sessions. And depending on what we're doing, what their struggles are, every session is completely different. And it's just approaching the subconscious differently to resolve. So sometimes we're resolving one thing and another session we're resolving another. Sometimes we're doing a lot in one session. So it just depends on a number of factors. But yeah, I mean, it is fast. And a lot of people are surprised by how fast it is because, like with traditional therapy, you're going for years on end. I get people that come into me that have been to therapy for 12 years, 15, 20 years. And
Right.
I say, wow, I just want people to get on their way. Let's get you fixed and send you on your way to move forward and live your best life. No more of this reliving it as you go to a therapist. Let's just get this taken care of for you.
Wow. And is it pretty permanent then? Or, in the
Hmm.
cases where people fall back into habits, or, why does that happen, I guess?
Well, sometimes it's because new things come up in their lives, right? But often it is permanent. In my experience, so before I became a hypnotist, I went to a hypnotist to try it out. I was considering becoming a hypnotist. I said, well, if I'm going to do that, I got to go see what it's like. So I went to a hypnotist and did some sessions, and it's been years and years. And those same things that we worked on are still resolved. So, and with the smoking, I give them a lifetime guarantee. And pretty much everyone. I have basically a 95% success rate with that, where they just are good. They're done.
Wow.
So, yes, it is permanent. Like that guy that I brought up that was kidnapped, he'll never have the same recollection of that again. For the rest of his life, whenever he remembers it, he'll be like, yeah, I remember it, but I'm okay with it. Because it's
Wow.
forever dissociated in his mind, right? So yeah, I mean, sometimes people can fall back into habits, but it depends on what it is. I do a sugar session where I get people to have more control with sugar. And so I'll tell them, in order for you to keep this working, you have to keep maintaining this, right? Because if you fall back into eating a lot of sugar, it's easy to get out of it. But, I also send people with the recordings of the sessions. And so I'll tell them, if you ever find that you're slipping on this, just listen to the recordings and get back into it. So
Wow.
it again, it kind of depends on what we're working on, right? Sugar is a little more tricky because it's a food item and we have to eat.
Yeah, there are chemical reactions in our brains, right? That's a little different than,
Yeah,
you know.
it is different than smoking or alcohol. When I help people with drugs or even pornography, I get, a number of people that come to me to get off pornography. So one of the main factors that is important for people to know is when people want to quit something, I have to evaluate how ready they are. So if someone calls and they say, I want to stop smoking, I have to say, okay, how ready are you? Like, is anyone making you do this, or is this your decision? And if they say, oh my gosh, I am so done, I can't stand it anymore, I'm just so done, then I'll say, okay, you know what? It's going to work then. 100%. It will absolutely work. If I was to have someone that's like, yeah, I want to stop because, it's just not healthy and it's expensive, I would be like, I don't think it's time. There's hesitancy there. In order for this to work, you have to be so done. And it's that way with all the habits, right? Alcohol, pornography, I have to do the same thing. Are you ready? Like the golden question is, are you just ready to be done with this for life? And if they have this resolution in them, right? This, yes, absolutely, I'm done, then it will absolutely work. Yep.
So, okay. So if there's any kind of inner resistance, then it's going to be a little trickier and you don't even want
Mhm.
to go there with
Yeah,
them.
because it's not mind control. Hypnosis is not mind control. Even those people, there's the misconception out there that it's mind control. If someone is not completely ready, what happens is that during hypnosis, that part of them that is not ready is putting up a wall, right? Because they're like, yeah, that's going to come through in the session. It's going to prevent them from having the success that they want, because they have to want it. And if they do, it's going to work great. But if there's any hesitancy there, because I cannot force them to want it.
That's
So
so
yeah.
interesting. I mean, it's like anything in life. You can't force
Hmm.
people to want to be successful or to want to
Hmm.
change, to want to improve. So it's really fascinating that the brain knows that, the mind knows that, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm really curious as to, I mean, you mentioned that you did hypnotherapy, but is there a reason that you decided to go down this path of becoming a hypnotherapist? I mean, what motivated you to get into this field?
I get asked that a lot, actually. That's my number one question that I get asked because it isn't a typical career. It's a pretty unusual career. But what I can tell you is, sometimes in life we just feel the call, don't we? Something just nudges us, and that's exactly what happened. I was putting it out there into the universe and I was asking God to guide me. I said, look, because I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. I had 5 kids, and my oldest was graduating from high school and moving on, and my youngest was in school all day now. And so in my past, I had done human resources, and I just said, I don't think I want to do that. I loved it, but I don't think I want to be back in human resources. So I put it out there. I said, God, I would love some guidance. You know, I just threw it into the universe. Guide me. What do I need to do that's going to help the world be a better place? And the next thing I knew, I was Googling hypnotism, and I don't even know why. I don't even know what made me go down that path, but I was Googling it. I was reading about it. I became fascinated with it. And then I reached out, I found some schools that train, and I was signed up within a couple months and certified and opened my first, opened my business. And the reason that I ended up being a happiness and peace expert is because when I first opened as a hypnotist, I got some really severe issues right away. My very first clients had major traumas. And so what happened is that I used what I had learned in the hypnosis school, and it worked. Even though I was a newbie, it worked for these major things. One of my very first clients had had two teenage daughters die and her husband, and they died at different times, and it helped her tremendously. I was
Wow.
brand new at it, and it helped her so much that she was still referring people to me years later. So that encouraged me, and then I just kept getting more of that. I wasn't really even marketing for that. I wasn't asking for it. It just was coming to me. But it comes back to the fact that in life, our challenges turn out to be our teachers, don't they? And our biggest challenges end up guiding our lives. Well, I had had experience with depression and anxiety. I had been through some severe depressions in my past. And so it serves me. When people come to me with severe depression and anxiety, I say, hey, I know what it's like. I've been there. And just know that you're going to come out of this. You're going to be okay. If I can come out of it, you can. Because I was like in the most severely depressed states humanly possible. And I came out of it. So you can too. So it really serves me. I get it, right? I can relate with their issues. So that's kind of how it went down. Sometimes when we're looking for our calling in life, we just have to ask
Yeah. I
and we
agree with
get
that
an
100%.
answer. Yeah. So I'm really thankful for that because years and years ago, if someone would have told me you're going to be a hypnotist and it's going to do this and this, and you'll end up doing public speaking and traveling the world, I would have been like, wow, really? I mean, but it's been a wonderful experience. I love helping people. I've seen lives change dramatically, just incredibly, right? And it's been wonderful. I love helping people. And I just wish I could help the whole world
Right. Yeah.
because I
That's
think
so
everyone
amazing.
could benefit.
Yeah.
Everyone could benefit from this. Everyone has issues that they would love to overcome, no matter who they are.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely. And I mean, talk about impact, right? I mean, talk about really changing someone's life. I mean, the transformation that your clients are having, I mean, it's incredible. And it makes
yeah,
me wonder why we don't talk more about hypnotism. I mean, it seems like it's this, it almost seems like a miracle, you know, thing that we could do. And so
yeah.
yeah, I'm a huge believer in it. I want to do more of it myself. And for anyone listening, if you have any kind of, I guess, nudgings from the universe to seek a hypnotherapist out, I mean, definitely reach out and connect with Amy.
Oh, thank
The work
you.
that you're doing sounds incredible, and I want the same thing. I want to help people. I want to see them live their best lives, like you said,
Mhm.
and this is truly transformational, the stuff that you're doing. So I just appreciate being able to connect with you, and to hear these stories of how you're changing lives. It's so amazing to me. Um,
Well,
I
thank
want to
you.
be respectful of your time. We're trying to keep these to roughly a half hour. If there are
Okay.
any questions, anyone in the chat, this is kind of your last chance. If you want to drop one real quick, we'll give it another minute. In the meantime, Amy, where can people go to connect with you?
Okay. You can find me on social media, either under Amy Koford or Amy the Happy Hypnotist. I have a bunch of different, social media profiles. Or just go to my website, amykoford.com. That's AMYKO Ford.com. So AMYKOFORD.com. I also, people can book me to speak for them on bookamyk.com. So yeah, there's a number of ways to reach out to me.
I love
And
that. And we do have your speaker
yep,
profile up on our website.
perfect.
And we will, depending on where you're listening to this or watching this, we'll have likely we'll have links in the description. So just go there and you'll find a way to connect with Amy there. But thank you so much for your time.
Yeah,
Again, for
thank
anyone who
you.
hasn't seen your presentation, go watch it. The sessions that you do, I mean, you do some hypnotherapy right within the presentation. So if
Yep,
you haven't participated in that, go and see it or go and listen to it. But thank you again for being part of the summit and for your
yeah.
time. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Nino, and I pray that everyone out there can benefit from my presentation. And yeah, call me. Maybe you have family members that need help, kids or other family members that could use a boost in confidence or they're struggling emotionally. Yep, it can help them.
I love that. And
So,
I know you are. I mean, I can tell that you're changing lives and that just makes me happy and excited. So
well,
yeah,
thank
definitely
you.
reach out to Amy for anyone who needs it. And again, thank you for being here to
You're
everyone.
welcome.
And
And
we
last
will,
thing I want to say is anyone listening, you are amazing. You are beautiful. You are this incredible being inside. So connect to that greatness that you have within you. You're more than what you've believed in the past.
that is a perfect way to end this. Thank you so
Yep.
much for your inspiring messages and just for being you and making the world a better place. Thank you so much, Amy.
Well, thank you, Nino. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so much.